Good morning, Mighty Bulldogs. This is your principal, Mr. Rubio, coming to you with your announcements, your morning announcements on this Throwback Thursday, September 17th. Today is an A Day, and that's El Gran Combo de Puerto Rico for our throwback song of the day. You know, there's just something about salsa that just wakes you up in the morning. I don't drink coffee, so I have to find substitutes sometimes. But please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish in honor of Hispanic or Latina Heritage Month. Yo prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación, bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Please join us for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. There are no birthdays to acknowledge today, so we'll just get into our spotlight for today. Today's Latina Spotlight is Dr. Antonia Pantoja. So Dr. Pantoja was born in 1922 in San Juan, Puerto Rico. She was raised by her grandparents. At the age of 22, she immigrated from Puerto Rico to New York, and, you know, began living her life there. So when she arrived, she, like many Puerto Ricanos that arrived to New York City from Puerto Rico, worked in a factory, and so she noticed that the factory conditions were not good for Puerto Rican workers. They faced a lot of racism, a little bit of xenophobia, and so she began to organize the workers and help them kind of understand what rights they had. And so she had a huge passion for education. It wasn't until I guess she was 30 years old when she finally earned her bachelor's degree. She earned her master's degree shortly thereafter, and then she became Dr. Antonia Pantoja in 1973. So right before that, she helped found Aspira. Aspira is an organization aimed at helping Puerto Ricans earn the skills to complete the workforce. So as Puerto Ricans were coming, they were limited in their ability to speak English, obviously, which is definitely an interesting phenomenon, because now, you know, especially I actually visited Puerto Rico, and English is a big part of Spanish is definitely the dominant language, but a lot of Puerto Ricans know English. So Aspiro is essentially helping Puerto Ricans sort of assimilate themselves to the culture here and become more marketable as workers. And so one of the things that they noticed was that as students were arriving, they were essentially not given a fair shake. So many Puerto Rican students were not able to access education in the same way because of the language barrier. So Aspira filed a civil lawsuit against the New York City School District in 1972, and the ultimate result of the lawsuit paved the way for bilingual education in New York City. So the city schools were forced to allow the student or give the students opportunities for transitional classes so that they could then be successful in school. And then she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1996 by President Bill Clinton at the time, which is the highest civilian honor you can receive as a U.S. citizen. And there is Dr. Antonia Pantoja. So we celebrate many Latinas and Latinos like you, Dr. Pantoja, and it's just a great story to hear of someone who, you know, had to work, but also worked for others. This day in history, September 17th. So we often hear about like the Bill of Rights or the Declaration of Independence. But we don't hear as much about September 17th is when the U.S. Constitution was signed. Sorry, let me switch my slides a little bit. So the Constitution is signed. Everyone hears about that in textbooks, but you know, we kind of gloss over some of the things, and we don't always ask some of the questions that we should, right? So I'll just read this paragraph here. The U.S. Constitution endorsed slavery and favored the interests of the owning classes. What kind of constitution would have resulted from founders who are more representative of the entire country, including enslaved people, workers, and farmers? And so, you know, again, we don't talk about that. Pretty much almost half of those who framed the U.S. Constitution owned or enslaved other human beings. I should say enslaved, not owned, right? They enslaved other human beings. Many were wealthy. Basically, like, the Constitution was not written by the people, right? And so every single person who signed and was a framer was white. Every single framer was male. So again, these are just questions that we need to ask ourselves and think about, and things that we aren't always covered in our history books. We're definitely glossed over. Our meal update for today is, well, there's no real update. It's the same thing, 10:30 to 12:30. Come get your meals. You can also get your 8th grade algebra book if you haven't already. That's the workbook. Let me move this down a little bit. There you go. That looks better. Bus routes are here. Remember to contact that phone number if you have questions. I cannot answer many questions about the bus. I can just show you that this is one of the routes. This is another one of the routes. And again, I know that some of you are asking for if there's additional routes. We are working on that. Just keep in mind that we can only, due to social distancing restrictions, we can only fit a certain amount of students on the bus at once. The schedule for today and tomorrow is here. Remember, today is an A day. So that is the schedule for 6th and 7th grade. Here's the schedule for 8th grade. And here's the schedule for high school. And I'll show you the elective schedule there. So today is an A day. A is an apple. And then the big announcement, I started saying this last week. This is the schedule for next week. So 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, you will stay virtually. But 6th and 7th grade, you all will shift into this, what we're calling now an in-person schedule. So homeroom says 7:45. You actually don't need to log in until 8 o'clock if you're virtual. If you are coming in person, you will start arriving into the building at 7:45, but homeroom will officially start at 8 o'clock. Okay? And there's your schedule here. So not a ton of changes, 6th and 7th grade. We may have moved a couple things around, but generally you'll take your math class first, your English class, electives, 3rd period, social studies, or science right after lunch. I didn't fix this. I'm so sorry. This should say science on top and social studies down here, because 6th grade takes social science, 7th grade takes social studies. My apologies. Make sure you're bringing the proper supplies. I did add one here in red. I added a water bottle simply because we want to make sure you have water to drink. We have those really cool dispensers upstairs and downstairs, so you can bring your water bottle to get filled in those dispensers with nice water that's been filtered. And then please bring your headphones. You're definitely going to need your headphones, and then bring your school issued computer on Monday if you're here in person for 6th and 7th grade. Uniform expectations are there. Please make sure you are in uniform. I do need to add a slide on shoes, but they must be mostly black. So those checkered vans, you know what, I'm going to put a picture of a checkered van up here in a minute. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so shoes like this are not mostly black. There's a lot of white in there. And I'm not even talking about the shoelaces, but that's just an example, Make sure you're bringing the proper uniform every single day if you're in person. Questions, text us there. Follow us on Facebook. And remember that Bulldogs are determined, optimistic, generous, and strong. And if no one tells you today, remember that we love you, believe in you, and always will. It's hard to say have a throwback Thursday. Have a thundering thinking throwback Thursday. Doing your absolute best. We miss you all so much, and we hope you have a great day. And we are almost at the end of the week. It is time for Move This World. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.